Hi, everybody. It's Al Gattullo, and I am back. Now, there's no podcast this week. We're going to reschedule for next week. We were trying to get something together for Thursday, but unfortunately, we weren't able to put it together in time. So next Thursday night, that would be February 28th, the last day of the month of February, we'll be back with an Al Gattullo podcast on Sports Shouting Radio at sportsshouting.com. But I wanted to give you guys a little something extra. I'm going to post this obviously on Facebook. We'll throw it up on Twitter and, of course, the sportsshouting.com website for you guys to check out. Lots of stuff going on in sports this week. Wanted to comment on a few of those things moving forward. Obviously, we've got the NBA trade deadline coming up tomorrow at 4 o'clock Eastern, and we'll get into that in just a couple of minutes. But wanted to talk a little bit about the Jets and the cuts that they've made over the last couple of days. None of these cuts really, as a Jet fan, should you be surprised about? I mean, cutting Jason Smith and Bart Scott and Calvin Pace and Eric Smith, really not a shock. First of all, Bart Scott, the rumors are that his agent is going to talk to the Jets management at the Combine this week, try and, take less money to come back. If I'm the Jets, Bart Scott's done, folks. Get as far away from him as possible. You've cut him, you take your cap hit, you move on. I wouldn't take him back for a bag of balls and $500,000. I'm sorry. I think Bart Scott is done. I don't think he brings anything to your locker room anymore. I don't think he does anything on the field anymore. I think Bart Scott is done. If another team wants to take a flyer on him, you know what? Let them take that flyer. But as far as I'm concerned, Bart Scott is finished. Calvin Pace, nice player. Really wasn't the dominant player that the Jets expected. Again, no shock at all. Eric Smith, again, that's one that I'm not surprised either. Recovering from an injury, did not play that well. And personally, I don't think that he was used in an effective manner. Smith is not really a great cover safety. He's more of an attacker, go at the quarterback. I think he had been played out of position for the last couple of years. He's a banger. He's a guy who hits, much like LaRon Landry. If I'm the Jets, I try to bring Eric Smith back at less money. He was due to make $3 million. Maybe he comes back for $1.5 million. I don't know. As a play, for that type of player, yes, I try to bring him back. He knows Rex. He knows Rex's system. I think it works out. However, I think the safe money is he's probably going to Buffalo. And if he goes to the Bills, that could be a problem for the Jets because obviously he knows their schemes. That could be an issue. Now, the Darrelle Revis issue. Okay, the Jets have some problems. Obviously, they're cutting all these players. They're under the cap, but they've got to replace those players. Who are they going to replace them with? They're not going to be able to replace that many people through the draft. So Darrelle Revis becomes the question mark here. He has the interview with the NFL Network the other night. He's annoyed. He's pissed off that the Jets haven't taken care of him. They haven't called him. They haven't responded to him. You know what? I'm so sorry that Darrelle Revis didn't get a phone call from John Idzik, to say, hey, welcome to the team. We're fully behind you. I mean, honestly, I've had it with this nonsense. The guy's under contract for the Jets. He's a free agent if they don't extend him at the end of the season. If I'm the Jets, you know what I do? I trade him. If I can get an unbelievable knockout offer for the guy, let's say it's the 49ers. Let's say it's Alex Smith. Let's say it's a couple of draft picks. If I can get a tremendous offer for the guy, I deal him. If not, I hold on to him. I try to re-sign him. Do I give him everything in the kitchen sink? I don't know. I think he's going to be good this year. I don't think he's going to be the Hall of Fame player that everybody thinks that he is. He's recovering from an ACL. It's knee surgery. Yeah, he's 28 years old, and I get the upside of him, okay? If I'm the Jets, I try to retain him. But if I can't, and he's hell-bent on being the way he is, then you know what? If I'm John Idzik and the Jets management, and I'm out at the Combine this week, I'm talking to every general manager. And I say, what do you want to give me for Darrelle Revis? And just list the offers. I'd be sitting there with paper, pen, and I start writing down every single offer that teams are giving me. Then I go back, I kind of evaluate everything, and I say, you know what? Is it worth it? Do the Jets need a quarterback? Some Jet fans think so. Some Jet fans don't think so. I think you're stuck with Mark Sanchez either way, folks, for this season. I think this is a season where it's been talked about. It's going to be a rebuilding year. I don't think the Jets are going to contend with the New England Patriots, an improved Miami Dolphins team. Who knows if the Bills are going to be improved? Maybe the Bills will be and they won't be. But if the Bills are the only team that you're going to beat in the division, you still have to get past the other two. Now, right now is presently constituted and how it all shapes out, and obviously it's February. You can't speculate that far ahead. The Jets are not a playoff team, in my opinion. At best, maybe they get to 9 wins. Maybe. And if they do, that's great. But it also saves Rex Ryan's job. And some fans don't want to see Rex here. But I think Rex Ryan is going to be the head coach of this football team through next season, obviously, but probably the following season as well. Woody likes Rex Johnson. Jet fans, you're stuck with this guy, just like you're stuck with Mark Sanchez. So at this point, I see what I got in Mark Sanchez. Now, maybe Greg McElroy beats him out in training camp. Maybe the Jets go and end up acquiring a quarterback, okay? But now you've got to worry about running back, too. Sean Green's a free agent. Who are you going to get to replace him? Yeah, running backs are a dime a dozen. But the point is, you've got so many holes here. Santonio Holmes, he comes back. But is he your number one receiver? I don't think so. I think if you want to help Sanchez's confidence, you bring back Braylon Edwards. He sounded like at the end of the season last year that he wanted to come back and be willing to come back for whatever money it is. I think you sign Braylon Edwards. Clearly, he is going to help you and help your quarterback. And maybe Sanchez gets back to form here and gets back to the quarterback that he was from 2 seasons previous when he took them to the AFC Championship game. Okay? Mark Sanchez is never going to be Peyton Manning. He's not going to be Eli Manning. So you take what you can get, and yet your former general manager, Mike Tannenbaum, saddled you with this ridiculous extension that didn't need to be given. And now the Jets have to pay the price for it because you're not going to be able to deal him. Now, if you trade Revis to the 49ers, and let's say it all works out and get Alex Smith back, now you've got a competition going into training camp. And if Sanchez has to sit back as a $13.5, $14 million guy and sit on the bench, well, you know what? Then you deal with that. The bottom line is you have to put yourself in the best position to win. I think the Jets have started to do that, and these were cuts that were going to be made by Tannenbaum anyway. But now you've got to replace these guys, and if I'm the Jets, I look to see if I can get the absolute positive best offer for Darrelle Revis. I weigh it, and if it's good enough, then I deal with him. So that's my take on the Jets. Let's move on. NBA trading deadline is coming up tomorrow. All right, and the Knicks and Nets have been the buzz. Also, the Lakers. Will they deal Dwight Howard? Will they won't? Let's start with that first here about the Lakers. Mitch Kupchak not too long ago, earlier today, said Dwight Howard is the future of the Lakers franchise. If Dwight Howard is the future of the Lakers franchise, and folks, I'm a Lakers fan, I'm worried, okay? This is a team that may not make the playoffs this year, and I know Charles Barkley and a bunch of other guys have said it already. With the talent that they have on this team, if they don't make the playoffs, there's a problem. Okay, you've got Kobe Bryant, a Hall of Famer. You got Pau Gasol, who's a good player when he wants to be. I mean, if he plays like he played in the Olympics last year, the guy could be dominant every night. Okay, you've got good pieces to the puzzle here. I don't understand what Dwight Howard's problem is, but that guy is a cancer. He has hurt teams. He hurt the Orlando Magic. He's hurting the Lakers right now. And let me tell you something. If the Nets are stupid enough to trade for this guy, okay, he's going to hurt that team too. I think the Nets are a decent team right now. I think P.J. Carlesimo has got them playing the right way. They're playing consistent. They're winning games. They're getting things done. I think if I'm the Nets, I stay pat. I like what I got. I like the coach that I have. I think you let the chips fall where they may, and you see how everything shapes out. Now, Howard becomes a free agent. You want to explore that possibility in the summertime. That's a different set of circumstances. But I don't like the guy. I don't think he helps your team out at all. I think he's just a distraction. I think Kobe is tired of the distraction. And he's trying to tell this guy, hey, look, we got a good coach here in D'Antoni. Let's get this system down. And let's face it, all these people saying that D'Antoni's system is so difficult. Well, you know what? Phil Jackson's system, Tex Winter's system, was so difficult in the triangle. And you know what? They won a couple of championships. Now, it took Kobe and Shaq to finally get along with one another to get it done, but they had the pieces of the puzzle. They put it together. They put their differences aside, and they ended up winning a couple of titles, as a team. So, to me, I think Dwight Howard stays pat with the Lakers. I think the Lakers would be foolish, and you really need another team to make it work. I don't think it's going to happen. So I think the Nets stay pat. Now, the Knicks, on the other hand, some people are talking about, Iman Shumpert's going to get traded. All these guys are going to get dealt. I think the Knicks are going to stay exactly where they are. I think if I'm the Knicks and I'm the Knicks hierarchy, I really think that the Knicks stay pat here at the trading deadline. I think they've got enough people in the right places. They've played well. They've played competitive in the East. I don't think there's really anybody out there that's going to put them over the top without giving up a lot. So I think the Knicks should stay exactly where they are. I think they've bought into Woodson's system big time, and I think they're going to do fairly well. They could do some damage in the playoffs. Do I think they win a championship or get to the NBA Finals? I don't know. It's too early to tell at this point. But I think the Knicks stay pat, and I think Mike Woodson wants them to stay pat because they're all buying into that system and how it is created. So I think if I'm the Knicks, I don't make a trade here. I think the Lakers shouldn't be making a trade, neither should the Nets. But those are stories for another time. But anyway, my name is Al Gattullo. Of course, the Al Gattullo podcast is going to come up next Thursday night, February 28th, 7 o'clock Eastern. We'll do some baseball during that. We'll do some NBA. We'll do some other stuff as well. Maybe we'll throw some hockey in there. One other basketball note, obviously, on Monday, the passing of Dr. Jerry Buss of the Lakers. This was the guy that brought Showtime to the Forum, that really turned the Lakers into that big national franchise that everybody either wanted to root for or to hate, kind of like the Dallas Cowboys, although not on that same level. The interesting thing that I found about Dr. Jerry Buss, as a Laker fan, guy owned the team for 32 years, approximately, okay? And the interesting thing about Jerry Buss is, in all the years that he owned the Lakers, they only missed the playoffs twice in his tenure. Twice. He won 10 championships. On the flip side, if you look at George Steinbrenner as the Yankees owner, they missed the playoffs 18 times. I get that they won all these World Series, but think about that for a second. His team, the Lakers, only missed the playoffs twice in the 30-something years that he owned the team. That's remarkable. And the other nugget that I got, 1989, their waiting list for people waiting for tickets, Michael Jackson, the king of pop, was waiting for a seat courtside. That's amazing because back then, Michael Jackson, huge, tons of money, couldn't get a sniff of courtside. That is pretty remarkable, folks, and very sad that Dr. Buss passed away. Hopefully, Jeannie, his daughter, and the rest of the Laker family, they can run that franchise the way their father ran it, because let me tell you something, that is a model franchise that people really, he understood Dr. Buss on you had to spend money to make money. You had to go out and acquire that high-priced talent. And when they needed those pieces of the puzzle, that lasting piece, that sixth, seventh guy that they really needed off the bench, they ended up getting them more often than not. And that's why they were so successful. So very sad out in Los Angeles last couple of days. I know the Lakers played the Celtics tonight, which isn't it funny? Lakers-Celtics, that rivalry for all those years, Magic, Bird. And again, when Buss bought the team, his first draft pick was Magic Johnson. So, the guy had a long career in Los Angeles, really put the team on the map, and very sad, Dr. Jerry Buss dead at the age of 80. Moving over to baseball a little bit, the Yankees, apparently Robinson Cano and his agent Scott Boras, they've been talking, trying to get a long-term deal. If I'm the Yankees, this is the guy that I want to sign and lock up for a long-term deal. Again, they want to rid themselves of this A-Rod contract. Believe me, folks, if Alex Rodriguez does not play an inning for the Yankees this season, probably some insurance stuff kicks in, they would be very, very happy with that. Derek Jeter's got a couple of years left. He's getting long in the tooth. He can still be effective. But again, you've got a plan now for the future for when these guys aren't here. I think the Yankees are going to be a competitive team, but that American League East is going to be very tough. Forget the Red Sox for a second. You've got a Blue Jays team that is much improved. You've got an Orioles team that's on your heels. The Rays aren't that bad either. That's not going to be a very, very tight division in terms of it's just going to be the Yankees and the Red Sox battling it out. I think all those teams in the American League East are going to be battling and jockeying for position. That's a pretty remarkable thing when you look at it. That's, it's good for baseball if the American League East is competitive. It makes all those games that much more interesting. So the East is not the Yankees by any stretch of the imagination. It's not their division to lose. They're going to be in a fight most of the way. And since they're not going to be hitting as many home runs, they've got to do some other things in order to generate wins. I think a full season with Ichiro is going to be good. Obviously, you got him in there for his defense. He'd give you a little spark at the plate. But good move by the Yankees re-signing Ichiro. The bullpen comes back pretty much intact. Your starting five is pretty much intact. I think Andy Pettitte still got some innings left in him. So I think as a Yankee fan, I think you have to be very happy with a lot of the things as constituted. I think the behind-the-plate kind of thing is going to be something that's going to have to be shaken out during spring training. But I think when all is said and done, I think the Yankees are going to be all right. On the flip side with the Mets, last year I didn't think this team was going to win that many games. They surprised a lot of people in the first half of the season. They kind of tailed off in the second half. The Mets don't want to see a repeat of that again. However, they're not ready to spend all that money yet. I know Fred Wilpon has said, we're ready, we're going to compete, we're going to get out there and get some free agents and stuff. That's probably not going to take effect until the following season. So I think you have to worry about some things. Now, obviously, Johan Santana's money comes off the books at the end of the season. Do you re-sign him? I don't know if I necessarily re-sign him. He's not going to be making or command that big of money. So I think you have to worry about that. Losing R.A. Dickey is not the worst thing in the world. Look, I wanted to keep the guy. I love the guy. He was a fan favorite. I'm a Met fan. I'd love seeing him go out there every 5 days. and pitch. And, it was pretty much when he went out there last season, you were almost guaranteed a win. I thought the guy was tremendous. I think he's going to be just as good in Toronto. I think they got a good player. But look, the guy was pricing himself out. I think he was asking for way too much money than what the Mets wanted to invest in. And so at the end of the day, he had to go elsewhere. And I don't have an issue with that. I think the rest of the bullpen is going to be a problem. I think the starting five is going to be an issue. I think the bats are going to be an issue. I think you've got to see if David Wright really picks it up and starts, moving it forward. You've got other guys on this team you have to worry about. Do I think that the Mets are going to be have that tail off in the second half of the season? I don't think so. I think the Mets are going to be okay. Do I think that this is Terry Collins' team to take to the playoffs? I don't know. And I don't know if necessarily the Mets make a managerial change at the end of the season. I think if Terry keeps them competitive the rest of the way, I think the Wilpons end up holding on to him. And I think you're going to be, with Terry Collins for at least another year. And then you see what happens. I think Sandy Alderson has done the right things. He's put the right people in the right places to succeed. He's trying to make moves. He's trying to save the team money, get value for what he can in return. So I think that Sandy has done a good job so far, and it remains to be seen. The body of work really isn't finished yet. So I think you really have to see what happens here, and I think this season is going to tell the tale. Now, whether or not the fans come out to Citi Field to see this team, that's a different set of circumstances. I think if you're a Mets fan, if you're a diehard, I think that you're going to end up coming back out to see this team and see them play. And I think they're going to play hard. I think that this is not going to be a tale of two halves, that they play hard in the first half and then tail off in the second half. I think they're going to be fairly consistent for most of the season. They might surprise a few people. Do I think that they're a playoff-bound team? No, I don't think so. My name is Al Gattullo. This is just a little Al Gattullo kind of video cast, if you want to call it that. We'll have the podcast coming up next week. That's next Thursday, February 28th, 7 o'clock Eastern, Sports Shouting Radio at sportsshouting.com. I hope you join me. We've got some others. Obviously, the Daytona 500 is this weekend, the Super Bowl of NASCAR. We'll talk about that. Obviously, with Danica Patrick sitting on the pole position. She's going to lead the race. I think it's great, but whatever. So she was able to step on the pedal, and hit 190-something miles an hour and get around the track in 46.7s at the perpetual left turn. Yeah, I know NASCAR fans are going to get on me, but you know what? Whatever. Okay. And finally, as to the hockey, the local teams, Devils still having issues with their power play. They need to start picking it up. The Islanders, they're doing this, folks. They get a couple of good games, then they go down in the tank. They go up again, they come down again. That spanking by the Flyers on Monday afternoon, 7-0. Horrendous, worst home loss for the Islanders. This is a team that's somewhat improved, but you know what? They've got a lot of question marks. The Rangers, on the other hand, there are some question marks there. They need to be more consistent. And the fact that the schedule is getting so much tougher in terms of playing, 3 games in 4 nights and things like that, I don't know if that necessarily bodes well for the Rangers. Look, my Flyers team, folks, I'm sorry to say, they're not playing that well. It was nice to see them come out against the Islanders on Monday. Claude Giroux called them out on Saturday night after they lost to Montreal. Says, look, we need to pick it up. We need to step it up. Every player in this room has to start doing something. He goes out and proves it. 26 seconds into the Islander game, boom, he scores a goal, sets the tone for the rest of the way. Does that sets the tone for that game? Will he set the tone for the rest of the way? He needs to pick it up. Couturier needs to pick it up. Max Talbot needs to pick it up. A lot of guys need to pick it up, especially the guy in between the pipes in that Universe guy over there, Brizgalov. Universe big. Yeah, that's great. But you know what, pal? You paid to stop the puck. Get between the pipes. Stop the puck. They're going to get their head coach fired, and I'm a big Peter Laviolette fan. I don't want to see that happen. But you know what? This Flyer team needs to play more consistent. 9 losses on the road already. That's not good. Okay, they need to start getting things done. I think when it's all said and done, Devils are going to be okay. They're going to be right in the playoff picture. They've got a couple of things to correct, but you know what? If I had my choice, I'd still want that guy, Marty Brodeur, between the pipes. He's pretty darn good, and he's still effective even at his age now. I don't see this guy retiring anytime soon. And everybody says, well, maybe it's his last season, maybe not. I don't think that's going to happen. Then you've got, the Islanders not looking too good. The Rangers, they're a little up and down, but I think Tortorella, they haven't really tuned out to his message yet. I think the Rangers are going to be all right as well. And finally, who else haven't we touched on? Oh, the football Giants. Well, Dwight Freeney earlier today said he'd love to play as a Giant. He'd love to come to the Giants. I think Freeney's going to command a little bit too much money for the Giants, to jump on him. And this also affects Osi Umenyiora as well. Don't forget, folks, Osi's going to be a free agent. He wants to explore the free agent market, but the upside is, do I want Osi Umenyiora or do I want Dwight Freeney? He may not see as much money as he thinks. Is there a possibility he comes back to the Giants? Possibly if he takes a major pay cut, but I don't think he's going to do that. Giants have some other issues they need to work on. They need to work on their offensive line a little bit. They need to get Will Beatty locked up to a long-term deal. They've got to worry about their secondary. That's a problem. Linebackers are always an issue for the Giants. Their defensive ends I don't think is really that big of a problem. If the theory is that they move Matthias Kiwanuka down to a defensive end and rotate him out, that might happen. I don't know. Giants may have some problems at running back, but I think the releasing of Ahmad Bradshaw should tell a lot of people a lot of things, folks. They liked Bradshaw. They didn't like the fact that he was sitting out of practice with a lot of those injuries. We know Tom Coughlin doesn't like that. So I think the Giants, they have some issues, but I think that Jerry Reese, I've got confidence in my general manager. I think he's going to take care of business and get things done. Hope you enjoyed this little video cast here, and maybe I'll put one together over the weekend or sometime early next week. We'll preview, of course, the podcast for next week, the Al Gattullo podcast on Sports Shouting Radio at sportsshouting.com. Hope you join me next Thursday night, February 28th, 7 o'clock Eastern. We're going to have a lot of fun. Take care, everybody.